All right, welcome everybody. Um, Been a while since I made a video, and I have recently been doing some drafting as IndyCar Rising, and have actually been sort of struggling a bit. I've been doing Premier drafting because I've decided that's really where I need to be focusing at the moment. From a trying to sort of go infinite, sort of has the best overall payoff if you're not going 3-0 all the time. But I've been struggling a bit, and I think it's probably due to me. I feel like I'm not able to get reading signals correctly. In some cases, the signals just seem really weird to me. So I wanted to real quick sort of rapid fire run through 3 drafts I did recently where I went 1-3, 2-3, and 3-3 in them. Just to sort of run through the pick order and my thoughts, and to hopefully hear back from some of you as to where you think I maybe, well, probably most likely made some bad decisions, where things went off the rails, where they didn't, and or justify my picks where they came. So let's just run into these here real quick. I'm going to be running through these from 17 lands. There is a problem. I run on a Mac, and for whatever reason right now, the first pick of every pack is not saved in the log file. So you're going to have to trust that my first pick, pack 1, pick 1, was always absolutely the correct choice, because I just don't have that available right now to go over. So let's start running through this first one. So pack 1, pick 1, I ended up taking Inscription of Abundance. All right. So that's what we got. Let's move on. Next up, I looked at the pack. There's a lot of decent stuff in here, but Balagad Recovery is not only a great card, it's a spland, but it also happens to completely cut green, and that sounded like an amazing option. Next pack, when looking at this, I did definitely consider just straight up staying green. I wouldn't want a Stomper at the moment. I probably wouldn't want a Scythe Cat either, but Blight Blade would be good if I'm just sort of truly just going in on I want something green. But I think Deadly Alliance was definitely the best pick in this pack, even if green-black isn't necessarily the best color combination, just trying to stay open. Now, pack 4, here's where it kind of got interesting and or starts going weird. There are some decent green cards here with the Baloth and again the Stomper, and there's even just a Brute. I did notice that there was a Riptide here. Given I have the Inscription of Abundance, I could be starting to think, hey, I should go into the blue-green kicker deck, whether I splash that Deadly Alliance or not. But the fact that pack 1, pick 4, there was both a Core Celebrant and a Blight Priest, just made me go, and the previous pick of Deadly Alliance made me go, all right, maybe I should be pushing hard into Clerics. It is one of, if not the best archetypes in this format. So I went ahead, didn't feel like I was losing that much otherwise, to go ahead and spec on the Blight Priest. All right, pick 5 comes up, and I feel kind of rewarded. Nothing here seems amazing to me. The Shepherd of Heroes is good if I'm going into the black-white life gain, but I don't necessarily know that I am still. Currently, I'm still green-black in the cards I have, and Malakir Rebirth seems an awesome option, whether I end up in Clerics or just black-green. Now, pack 1, pick 6, things just kind of feel like they get weird to me. You've got some reasonable red-blue, like wizard spell stuff with the Fisher Wizard and the Glacial Grasp. And there's really just, and Tormenting Voice even, but there's just not that much. I ended up picking the Zendikon just to, again, keep cutting green under the assumption that I'm currently black-green. This pack, if we were in white or red, there'd be some reasonable stuff with the Adept and the Fisher Wizard, maybe even the Ambusher. There was nothing in green. It was either the Silencer or the Mucklord. I went ahead and took the Mucklord just for curve. Now at this point, I started to feel pretty good still about black being open with the Palaka Predation open. So I went ahead and took that. Again, noting there's a Chilling Trap and a Fisher Wizard, so I don't remember at the time if I was noting that that seemed open, but here now in retrospect, the blue-red does seem a little bit open here. Now here's where the signals start to really hit me hard. I'm like, okay, a pick 9 Blight Priest is starting to tell me I feel like there's people not in clerics. I definitely want to take this. I can absolutely get rid of the green that I currently have. And so now pick 10, there's a cleric. I'm going to go ahead and take this. In retrospect, because 17 land shows me what's missing, it seems that someone did take a Celebrant. I didn't remember that at the time, but still, from what was in my possible main deck down there, I'm going to spec on that Cleric in the thoughts that maybe I'm pivoting into Clerics. Pick 11, I end up still just taking a green in the Scythe Cat because nothing else seemed worthwhile. Pick 12 now. I am noting that Riptide came all the way back around, but there's a Stomper. I still seem to be black-green, so I'm taking it. Pick 13, it's all black. I'll take a Blood Price, and Tormenting Voice gets snagged. All right, so pack 2, looking at what got opened. I'm definitely feeling that I'm green-black with the option still of pivoting into Clerics. I'm noting there is a Relic Vial here in my second look-through. I'm not sure if I considered that or not at the time, but the acquisitions expert just seemed a really good option. It'd be good in black-green, it'd be good in clerics as well, so I went ahead and took that. And now in this pack, if I remember correctly, I was looking at what was here, and I decided that I wanted to spec on this McKindy Stampede in the thoughts that I was possibly going clerics at this point. This was probably a bad pick in retrospect, because there is a Visionary that would be perfectly fine in green-black. Taunting Arbor Mage would also be perfectly fine in green-black. But that's what I took. Then pick 3, I took a Blood Beckoning. Currently, just looking back at this pack, it seems like the best option of everything. Now pick 4, another Blood Priest comes around, or Blight Priest comes around. Green has a Baloth and a Scythe Cat. So yeah, I again thinking that hey, I'm going to grab this. I know at this point I was also thinking that perhaps if I got the green landfall creature, I could end up sort of still green-black, but with this some black life gain creatures, some black lifelink creatures, and maybe the green landfall life, gain a life plant. And maybe it'd just be a little bit of extra synergy. Plus, Blight Priest is just a 3/2 for 3. But now pick 5. This is definitely where there was some options and decisions to be made. My green, looking down at my possible main deck, currently all I have is the Stomper, the Zendikon, which is really cuttable, the Scythe Cat, which I don't have a lot of extra landfall currently, the Balagid, which is good, and the Inscription, which is good. Given I now have 3 Blight Priests, it just would seem nuts to me not to suddenly take this Celebrant and potentially really push into Clerics at this point, from what I'm seeing. I could have taken the Gnarly Colony or the Blight Braid, or even the Adventurer, and stuck in green if I wanted. Pivoting seemed right at this point. Given that now in pick 6, there is in fact a Rabid Bite, which if I was going to be black-green is probably the choice. However, because I'm really thinking I'm probably going to be white-black at this point, I end up snagging that Subtle Strike as another option. And now we get into pick 7, and it definitely looks like I'm going to be grabbing this Demon's Disciple instead. Now we're looking at pick 8. I'm solidly in the idea that I'm probably going to be going clerics, and again, another Malakir Rebirth is great in that deck. I'd rather have that over an Adept or a Constrictor, yeah. If I was still sticking in green, however, there is another Blight Blade that I would probably be wanting. Pick 9, this Blood Priest came all the way back around, which seemed good. Pick 10, there was nothing suddenly for white-black, and so I went ahead and just snagged this Visionary in case I end up green still. Pick 11, suddenly again, 0 white-black available. So I take this Taunting Arbor Mage, which came around, which is a really good card, and so suddenly, like, wait, no, so is both Clerics open and Arbor Mage and green open? I don't know. And again, now pick 12, it's suddenly, yeah, it's green-black is what I've got. Not that any of these are really sort of busted cards, but Skitter Sneak is perfectly fine, Bailout is fine, and Constrictor's definitely fine if you're doing +1/+1 counters. Pick 13, this Adventurer came back around. And pick 14, there's a Highborn Vampire. So at this point, I'm definitely very torn. I started off green-black, much more heavy black though. Started to see Cleric pieces come around. So started picking up some white Cleric pieces that I've got sitting down here of the Celebrant, the Stampede, Protector. But then as this pack ended, suddenly green-black was what was available again. So we hit pack 3, pick 1. I'm looking at what's here. There is a Zoff, there is a Mind Carver. If we were in green, there's another Rabid Bite. But in my mind, I've definitely at this point said, nope, I am black-white Clerics. I am pushing into it 100% because I got a Skyclave Apparition. I'm taking it. I am definitely black-white at this point. And then pack 3, pick 2, I feel like I was paid off for making that decision and pick pack 1 because there's a Cleric. So now I am 100%. I'm cutting the green, push forward, I'm white-black. Pick 3, there's another Blight Priest. It's going to make Blight Priest number 4 for me, and that seems amazing. There is the option of taking an Acquisitions Expert instead because I've already got 3 Blight Priests anyway. I do note to myself at this point that I've only got the 1 Core Celebrant plus the Cleric. I only have 2 ways to gain life. I really need to be picking up life gain to go with all of these Drain Priests. Pick 4, there's a Sajiri Shelter. Awesome option. I don't think there's anything else here I would really consider over it at all. Pick 5, there is a Blood Priest, which is a one-time life gain thing, and it's a Cleric, so pretty easy pick. Pick 6, my options really at this point are just the Highborn Vampire, the Seagate Banneret, or the Resolute Strike. I take the Strike, not really planning on probably running them. Pick 7, for what I've pushed into with this black-white deck, I'm definitely taking the Outrider because it's the only card for me. I will point out there is still a lot of good green here, especially another Arbor Mage. Pick 9 now, or pick 8. Again, if I'm in black-white, I'm just picking a Smite the Monstrous because I don't have that much removal, so I might actually main deck one. Pick 9, Raptor's the only white card at all. You also notice that 17 Lands now has decided that, oh, you're probably running black-white, aren't you? And has flipped the pick over. Pick 10, I pick up a Protector. Pick 11, I really didn't want any of these. I wasn't going to run a Mesa Lynx, so I picked up the Relic Golem just for Vault Progress. Picked up a Dreadworm, not planning on running it. Mucklord, and then Deliberate was last pick. And so that's what I ended up with. The actual deck that I ended up building, I don't have that up really easily right now, so I'm just going to let me see if I can just pull that up real quick here. Um, but the long story short is I ended up making a cleric's deck. I definitely was a little bit short on the life gain even though I had the payoffs for it with running 4 Blight Priests. The deck felt reasonably good to me. Um, Unfortunately, it just ended up not working out at all um, because I ended up going 1-3, like I said. It just did not work out. All right, let me pull up the deck I actually built. Here we go. So here's the deck I ended up building. And like I said, I ended up going 1-3. Just really bad performance for what felt like a pretty reasonable deck in the end, and I felt like I did a good job pivoting on my picks, staying open, didn't lose out that much in the end. But again, performance really bad. All right, let's skip to the second one. This one was the one I went 1-3 on, as I was saying. So again, pack 1, you're going to have to trust it was the best pick. Honestly, there was nothing good, in my opinion, in this pack. I ended up taking the Cacophony, thinking that, well, maybe I'll get into Mill. Maybe I'll be in Kicker. Maybe I'll be in a Spells deck. Nothing else. It's just a rare pick for some Vault Progress and Gems. So knowing that I had a spell in pack 2, I saw there was a Relic Amulet. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take it, go in on blue-red wizards and spells. It seemed good. I will note there are a lot of blue here, so I'm passing some pretty heavy blue signals, but Relic Amulets will not go around the table, so I felt I had to go ahead and snag it right now. I was feeling pretty good then on pick 3 when I saw a Royal Eruption. There's definitely a few other things. The Colony Ambush could be good. The Diviner's good if I just wanted to stay completely blue. But Royal Eruption, and there's a Rabid Bite. But Royal Eruption just is absolutely the pick in my opinion. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting from my point of view. Pick 4, I kind of didn't see anything that the Wizard Spells deck really would want here suddenly. Wizard Spells, while red and blue, doesn't want a Charger. Sizzling Barrage is not really what that deck wants. I mean, I could run it. It's not the best. Don't want a Sneaking God. Don't really want the Stalker. And Riptide's not really what I want either. But there's a pick for Deadly Alliance here. In this pack, the 3 picks so far have been the rare, 1 uncommon, rare, 1 uncommon, and 1 common. The fact there's a Deadly Alliance and a Subtle Strike really makes me think that, hey, black seems very open. And so I wanted to go ahead and take it to stay open. I do know in the back of my mind there was also the idea that, those are spells. They can still go with Relic Amulet even if I don't end up in blue-red. Could still work out. Now, pick 5, this kind of continued. The only red card was a Hellhound. There is a War Leader, but I really don't think I have the picks at the moment to try to just go completely different. The only blue card is a Cleric of Chill Depths. Again, not what the Wizards deck would want. I will note that there is a Takedown, which is a really good white card, but I'd already just picked up the Deadly Alliance, so Blood Beckoning seemed a great option to go with that there. Now pick 6, suddenly, again, I'm just so confused on some of the signals. The previous pack had the Takedown, and now suddenly there's a Journey to Oblivion. White is therefore feeling pretty darn open that these aren't being taken. That being said, and that being said, like, there's kind of nothing else looking open at all. Green just has Broken Wings, Scale the Heights, and a Strength. There is no black. The only red is the Teeter Peak Ambusher, not the best. So it looks like white is really what's open suddenly. No one's taken a Journey in the first 5 picks. And there's a strike and a sellsword, which are fine. So I'm like, okay, maybe I need to move in on white. I did just take a couple black cards. I did see that the war leader go around, so like maybe I could pivot into red white. Maybe I need to be black white. Who knows? I'm going to take it and stay open. And then the next pack, again, white seemed to be the thing that was open. Given the options that I had and where I was, I took the binding. But now my picks are very awkward. You know, I've got 2 good black spells. I'm going to have 2 white removal spells. I've got the blue rare that honestly isn't all that good anyway. And I've got a Royal Eruption. It's weird. Like I said, the signals are just really weird, where the first few picks I made were towards blue-red spells. Granted, that was too early to read any signals, but then I was getting signals that black was open, and now I'm seeing, okay, white seems amazing. I move to the next pack, and suddenly everything switches around. Black, there's a Mucklord, which isn't good. There's a Mind Drain also. There's kind of nothing good, but white just has the Banneret and the Lynx. Black has a Mucklord and the Mind Drain. Red is again gone. Blue has a Cleric. Like, none of this seemed good. I think at this point, whether I had taken Mucklord or Mesa Lynx or Banneret or Mind Drain even, would have kind of all been the same pick. The main thing I know I was hitting at this point is I looked and I realized I had 0 creatures so far. And I was likely looking at what I had going into black-white. And so really my picks were Mesa Lynx versus Mucklord, and I would rather have the Mucklord in that case. Not that either of them are great. So pick 9. Again, I needed creatures. It's the only creatures here I'd be considering is another Mucklord, an Ox, or a Pack Beast. So Pack Beast seemed an easy pick for me, especially if I thought I was going into black-white. There's a chance I suddenly start taking some Cleric payoffs. Pack Beast seems great. And now Pack 10 comes around, and blue seems completely open. As you can see, the Sellsword is the only white card, Molten Blast for red. Looking at the known missing, the only blue card taken was a Disruption. So there's an Anti-Cog, a Cascade Seer, and a Chilling Trap. There's 2 wizard payoffs, an Anti-Cog and Molten Blast that are wizard spells to go with that Relic Amulet. And again, I need creatures, so suddenly white feels like it's dried up, and there's really good blue signals. Now suddenly pick 10. So now I'm super confused. I go ahead and take the Cascade Seer, not knowing what's happening. Pick 11. There's 0 creatures in that. Currently, I have a 4-color deck. I'm not going to take the Scythe Cat of the 5th color. I don't want to strike when I don't have enough creatures. I don't really want the hunger either. I take the Kite Sail just because who knows what's going to happen. Pick 12 at this point. I'm again assuming I'm somewhere in the white, black, blue, but like that one pack, I had the blue picks. I'm now just seeing white and red. I end up taking the Disenchant, just really not knowing what I was going to do. Pick 13. Again, it's an Ox or a Pressure Point. I'm definitely not a landfall deck, so I take the Pressure Point because at least it's a spell and it sort of cycles. Broken Wings because it's what was there. So now pack 2, pick 1. I have no idea where I really am. Like I said, I am thinking that maybe maybe blue was open suddenly at the end there with that Cascade Seer coming up. I do have this Royal Eruption, which is still good, whether I'm splashing it or not. As 17 Lands is pointing out, I've really sort of pushed into white-black, really. And so looking at the pack that's there, there's a Valakut Awakening, which I just not really going to be what I take at this point. I'm not in green, so I'm just ignoring the green, even though the horn beetle and the sproutling are good. I do note there is a geyser mage here, but after that one good blue pick, I got nothing else blue. There's nothing in red I would really want. There's nothing in white I would want, but there is a Deadly Alliance. And given Deadly Alliance and Subtle Strike are the only two black cards here, I would be somewhat signaling black being taken to the right if I start taking black now, and maybe I'll get more black coming back in the last pack. Plus, Deadly Alliance is great. Having two is great. Now, pack two, pick two. This is maybe a point where I went off rails, but it seemed right at the time. So let's see what we're going with here. So I still, at this point, definitely have no idea what's going on. I have the Relic Amulet still. That's definitely on my mind because of how powerful it can be. And I still feel like there was that blue signal, even though it immediately dried up. And while I've been getting white-black stuff, I've been getting removal and not really creatures, so I'm super light on creatures. Looking at this pack, for black, there's just a Dreadworm, and I'm definitely not a Dreadworm deck right now. In white, there's an Outrider and a Felidar, and I'm really not either of those either. So red, I only have the one Royal Eruption, and there's nothing I really want to take here. So I'm looking, and like suddenly this pack is full of blue payoffs, right? An uncommon was taken. The rare sucks, but there's a Salinity Vision and a Chilling Trap that are coming around. But there's also this Mystic, and I know when I made this pick, I still had that Relic Amulet on my mind, even though I'm primarily white-black in the cards that I've picked up. But I do have the Royal Eruption, I do have that Cascade Seer. It seemed worthwhile, given there's really kind of nothing I would want for a white-black deck here, really, anyway, to go ahead and snag this Mystic and see what happens. See if those blue signals that I was getting in pack 1 might show back up in pack 3. And maybe I end up blue-black with these Deadly Alliances, and maybe I end up splashing the Mystic and the Royal Eruption. So let's see what happens. Pack 3. Pack 3 is a red pack, and it is a spells pack. So suddenly there is nothing black, there is nothing white. I mean, Blood Price and a Sellsword. I really feel like black-white is being cut from the left. This is only pick 3. So there's a rare and a common gone. I don't think either of the people to my left are probably in green because of Visionary and Rolling Regrowth. They also don't seem in red. The Spike Field Hazard, the Thunder Mage is great, the Electromancer is great. Given that I just picked up the Mystic, I know that I was looking at this and thinking like, okay, maybe I am still the Relic deck and throwing away so many of my pack 1 picks. I really considered the Hazard, but I figured the Spark Mage is the one that is really worth it the most. It's a great payoff. It's a wizard. And, you know, I'm going to go for it and, like, let's see what happens, right? Now, pick 4, I'm definitely thinking red-blue spells, or maybe blue-black spells, or maybe even Grixis. Not that 3 colors is the best in this format, but there's a Cunning Geyser Mage. There's also a Spellcraft I'll point out. Those two really seem the best cards in this pack in the colors I'm in. There is another Blood Beckoning, but I'm light on creatures. There is an Arbor Mage. I'm not in those colors. Pick 5. At this point, if I was in black, if I really thought I was going to be in black, there is a Rebirth and there is a Subtle Strike. Again, I know I need creatures. I don't really have good black creatures. I'm therefore still kind of leaning towards this some Grixis combination. Of what's here, the best I see is this Glacial Grasp. It also cuts blue. Maybe the Rebirth was the right pick here. Maybe the Subtle Strike and staying more black. Grasp's where I went. And then pick 6. At this point, I know my mind really settled into the idea that, hey, I am absolutely going to be a red-blue wizards. There's a Fisher wizard. Let's grab it. Let's go in on this. Pick 7. I definitely considered the Electromancer here. I really started to feel good about my blue-red wizards deck at this point. I really considered the Electromancer. I also noted the warrior spland there, but there's an Expedition Diviner, seemed great. I was also kind of hoping, like, if the Field Research or the Electromancer or the Warrior come back around, or the Tormenting Voice, like, I'll be happy. Pick 8 now, there was really kind of nothing I wanted. The Hellhound, I just noticed that 17 lands went, oh, you are doing Grixis, aren't you? On this one for its possible main deck. Don't want a Hellhound. Glacial Grasp is probably the best blue-red wizard spell here, but I still felt really light on creatures, so I went ahead and picked up this Skyclave just to make sure I had some creatures. Same thing in this pick. Needed creatures, was planning on being blue-red, ended up taking this Cleric. Looking at 17 lands now, no missing stuff. Someone had taken a Geyser Mage. So definitely someone else taking some blue stuff. Pick 10 now. Now, this was the one that had all the blue in it. Someone else took the Confounding Conundrum, which was interesting, and someone else took the Spland. So at this point, though, with what I'm seeing, like, okay, blue-red spells seems really open. I could literally take this pack and sort of be okay with it. I probably wouldn't run the Wildfire, but hey, I could. Wizard and Chilling Trap both seem great at the moment. I'm low on creatures, so I'm going to take the Wizard. Same thing now, pick 11. Like, I'm happy to pick up a Tormenting Voice. Pick 12. I want more creatures, more low drops. Felt good just to hold down the land. Rubble Fort I was definitely not going to play, and a Pressure Point. So now, pack 3, pick 1. I cried a little inside that I was not in green when I saw this Baloth. I was definitely at this point planning on being blue-red. I was honestly really thinking that I was going to be blue-red and then perhaps splashing white for the journey that I had. And maybe something even else, like if I needed it, Pressure Point or Disenchant. Or splashing black, where I have a Blood Beckoning and 2 Deadly Alliances. So I was definitely thinking if I could find any kind of fixing, granted I'm not in green, but any fixing that would work, it would kind of be a higher priority for me. But none of the... Selendi Vision would be perfectly fine pick here. Maybe could be argued as the right pick if I'm in Wizards. But I still felt light on Wizards. I definitely now, my 2-drop slot, as you can see, is very full. Wanted to go ahead and pick up this Electromancer to start fleshing out the deck. Next, I was looking at what was here. I'm not the mill deck, so anti-cog's not what I'm looking for. The only red card is the Bug Catcher. I am not a Roost of Drakes deck. This Spland isn't necessarily the one I would consider really good, but it could be a fine pick. So honestly, I went for the Pack Beast because the Pack Beast is a wizard, and the Pack Beast is fixing. It's not the best fixing, but it is in fact fixing. So now pack 3, pick 3. There is a Royal Eruption, and there is an Into the Royal. Those were the only 2 things I was considering. Given I had one Royal Eruption, I decided to go ahead and take the Into the Royal just to sort of have some variety in my options. If I was still thinking black, there is a Feed the Swarm. Pack 3, pick 4. At this point, blue-red is feeling pretty good. For our deck, the Spellcraft or even the Tormenting Voice are definitely sort of more on plan. But honestly, the Night Runner felt great. I was wanting more creatures, a little bit of card draw can be good. And I did have party payoffs in the Electromancer and the Spark Mage. Both are also party payoffs. And if I'm going Grixis, the Deadly Alliances are party payoffs. So picking up a good rogue felt good here. Pick 5. Really the only things are a duelist or this Fury from my point of view, so I picked up the Fury easily. Pick 6, there was an Expedition Diviner. Seemed pretty obvious choice here. Pick 7, there were 0 blue and red cards suddenly. So given the idea that I might just have to be solid Grixis, I went ahead and picked up this extra Blood Beckoning. Pick 8, honestly, the Rogue seemed the best option. And I do remember from playing out, the Rogue actually won me a game where I just needed to get through some final damage. But given, again, the party payoffs and wanting more creatures, Rogue felt a perfectly fine pickup. Pick 9, I could have grabbed another Stalker, but I went ahead and grabbed the Deliberate, which I don't believe I ended up running. At this point, I picked up the Anti-Cog just because it's, even if I'm not milling them heavily, it is a counterspell. Even if it's just sort of a bad mana leak. Pick 11, I picked up the Vanquish, still not knowing exactly what I was building. Pick 12, Molten Blast seemed the best. And then throwaway picks. And then this particular deck, let me go back and pull up what I ended up building. What I ended up building was blue-red spells, but actually really kind of Grixis. I splashed heavily here, as you can see. I was running 2 Deadly Alliances and the Blood Beckoning, and 1 Blood Beckoning. I had 2. Just because I had, this was sort of wizard spells, but also party. And between the, I ran 3 swamps, plus I had the 2 pack beasts. So I really didn't have that much of a problem getting my black. Having all of the kill spells, having the 2 Deadly Alliances was great. Having Blood Beckoning to bring back things like Expedition Diviners, to bring back the Geyser Mages, to bring back the Electromancers and the Spark Mage was great. I went 2 and 3. I definitely felt that I was not really consistent enough in being a blue-red Wizards deck. I didn't have Tazim Royal Mages. I only had the 1 Geyser Mage. I had the 2 Diviners. It's definitely sort of a spotty kind of thing. Given the way the draft went, it felt like how the signals were telling me to be. But again, I only went 2 and 3, so really not a good play in the end. And now let's look at the last one, which it appears got suspended on me. Here we go. So this one was the one, at least, that I went 3 and 3 on. So as far as sort of gem-wise, you almost break even when you go 3 and 3. So this one was fine. But again, sort of still highlights how these things have been going and how it felt like. So again, pack 1, we can't see what was in there, but I took a Shatter Skull Smashing. So now, knowing that, looking at this pack, I saw the GOP'd, started thinking red, landfall seemed pretty good. There was the Spike Field Hazard. Looking throughout it, there is a Celebrant if I wanted to ignore my first pick and just try to push into Clerics. There is a Visionary and a Rabid Bite in green. I will note for myself now in retrospect, if I'd taken the Celebrant, it definitely sort of cut both black and white. Just a Raptor and a Disenchant and the Sneak. So maybe that would be good, whereas by taking the GOP'd, there is still this Hazard going, and a Molten Blast sort of for signals, but went ahead and took the GOP because it seemed the most powerful card without trying to do Mace stuff, which is tough. Pick 3, as far as red cards go, there's Electromancer is really the only one I would consider at this early, and Electromancer's not really just sort of, with Smashing and GOP'd, I'm thinking Landfall. Electromancer doesn't really fit into that. Blue, there's the Plunder and the Disruption. There's also a Tempest and a Riptide. There's an Into the Royal. Into the Royal or the Blightblade, Ascetic, or Vanquish are probably the best ones here. Taking Vanquish would have cut black. Blightblade would have cut anything that people would have really been wanting green. Blue felt open here, but again, this is pick 3, so that doesn't really mean anything. But Into the Royal just seemed the best pick at the time, and I wanted to stay open. All right, pick 4. Looking at what's in here, what felt like the most powerful card in the pack was the Deadly Alliance. I don't think anything else matches up to it. Green is, again, now non-existent. There have been 2 uncommons and the rare taken from this pack. Red is basically dead. Green is gone. White is Blue, I mean, like I said, it's all kind of like really Deadly Alliance feels like the only pick here, so took it staying open. And I did happen to be doing this draft on the same day, and I was like, oh great, am I going into Grixis again? Pick 5 now, Signals. So there is an Electromancer, it's the only thing in red. There's an Anti-Cog, the only thing in blue. Black now is down to just the Mucklord. So white and green suddenly feel very open. It's pick 5. I really start looking for signals at this point. And I'll note that in this pack, the rare was taken, and 3 commons were taken. All 3 uncommons are still here. These are 2 amazing green commons. Gecko for the kicker deck, Surge for the kicker deck, or just ramp or whatever. Like Surge is a great card. I do also know that it's also great landfall. It's great. There's a lot of streamers who are doing what they're calling sort of the crazy decks, where it's the grab the Surge, grab all of the 1 green, grab a spell stuff, and then just start splashing every single thing you can. Don't worry, be not necessarily 5 color, but go whatever you want. So that was definitely on my mind. Really, the takedown, the Surge, and the Gecko just seem to overpower everything else. It's really seeming like white and green are open. I decided to go ahead and take the Surge. The nice part about taking the Surge is if I'm pushing into green, Surge does let the splash happen, so I don't have to lose the Into the Royal or the Smashing or the Deadly Alliance. And Surge and Geopede go pretty well together as well. All right, so let's see where we went. Pick 6 now. Because I'd taken that Surge, I definitely went for the Florahedron, going like, okay, I'm green. I'm reading the signals table. I definitely want to be that green. There is a field research for that blue-green kicker deck. Molten Blast and Scorch Rider for red, not that great. Sedic, I mean, at this point, everything's kind of drying up. Florahedron seemed the best option. Pick 7 now. Again, the table is telling me I need to be in green and potentially green kicker. There's a Sproutling. Just seemed a slam pick. There is a Vanquish the Weak down there, but green seems open because there's also a Might and a Brute. Like, okay, I have to be green. Pick 8 then. I went ahead and picked up this Pathway because potential splashing purposes. So definitely wanted to go that way. Pick 9. Green is on the brain. Stomper seems the only pick. Stomper or Ascetic here. And because I do still have some landfall type things with that Geopede and not knowing exactly where I am, because I could be green-red landfall, the Stomper seemed better. Pick 10, green is definitely open. I'm taking the Visionary and not looking back. Pick 11, I get an Ascetic anyway. Pick 12, there is kind of nothing for me, so I take the Ox because landfall. Pick 13, there is nothing for me really in what I'm thinking, but I really at this point, I am definitely green, but I don't know my other color. I have an Into the Royal in blue. I have the Smashing in the Geopede in red. I have a Deadly Alliance in black, and I have an Ox in white. So I decided, like, either I'm taking the Disenchant, but this is best of one, so I'm sketchy about running it, or I'm taking a creature, so I just took the Mucklord. And then there was a Hunger left. So I'm going into pack 2 telling myself I am green and I don't know my other color, but I have some options. And I definitely was leaning black or red, black because of the Alliance and red because of the Smashing, and maybe the Geopede. So looking at pick 1, there is a journey if I suddenly wanted to say I was white, but white did not feel open in those packs, and there's a squad commander also. Blue really has nothing to draw me in. Red has nothing. Black has a Beckoning and the Gloom Hunter. Green has a lot. There's Nectarpot, there is a Gnarlid Colony, but there is a Vine Gecko, and I have a bunch of kicker spells right now. So Vine Gecko seemed absolutely the right choice. Now pick 2 here. In green, I had a Nectarpot and a Blight Blade. If I just wanted, and I guess a pickaxe, but if I just wanted to stay green, I would have absolutely taken the Blight Blade. But I kind of need to pick my second color. I'm definitely not going to be able to mono green. And Skyclave Shade seems great. It is actually a kicker card, and so it does go with the kicker stuff. Like maybe I'm green-black kicker. That sounds like something I could be. And it's just a great card. So pick 3, I stared lovingly at this Omnath and really tried to decide if maybe, just maybe, I could take it and use the Vastwood Surge and hopefully get some more fixing. But here's the problem I saw. I looked at this pack, I saw the Omnath, and I saw the Reclaim, which I also kind of wanted, because I definitely still at this point in the back of my mind kind of had the 4-color nonsense concept in my head with the Surge and the Reclaim. So I thought about taking the Omnath and seeing if the Reclaim wheeled, but I thought honestly it might be more likely that the Omnath wheels. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take the Reclaim, which is totally cutting green from going the other way, which might pay me off in pack 3 maybe. And if the Omnath wheels, I will have a Surge and a Reclaim, and I will probably take it and try to be silly. Spoiler, it didn't wheel. So pack 4, suddenly, there's another Reclaim. In black, there is a Blood Beckoning, which would be great because it is a kicker and a good payoff there. There's also the Vanquish. But it just seemed a no-brainer to take that Reclaim, especially if I'm trying to wheel the Omnath. And let's see what happens. Now pick 5. Looking here again, I still know that I'm green and I'm likely black because I picked up the Shade and I have the Alliance. You can see that 17 lands is sort of agreeing with the assessment down here. So looking at what's here, there is a Subtle Strike, but I definitely felt the need for some lower creatures. Scythecat seems great with all the landfall triggering I potentially have. Now pick 6. You'll note I picked the champion. I kind of didn't. I was super torn on this pack. I had no idea what to take because suddenly my green-black landfall kicker direction I was going just seemed crap. In black, there was a Silencer, which was useless. The Carver, which I'm not really milling them, and the Hunger is meh and very replaceable. I didn't feel blue, and neither of these were blue payoffs I wanted. So basically, I was really considering, did I want to take the Wildfire in case I was still going to be green-red and it is a landfall trigger? It is also fixing if you need it. Or do I just take the Zendikon knowing I'm probably going to cut it and not run it? And I waited too long and it auto-picked champion on me. That is what that is. So now pick 7. I'm back in the mindset. Nope, I'm definitely black-green. That's where I'm going. Kicker, landfall, shenanigans. consumption seemed the best option here. I will note there is a very late core celebrant going around. I felt like someone's got a good cleric deck going, but there have been no cleric stuff before this. Pick 8. Really not that much. I looked at my creatures and decided I needed some more, and some 2 drops would be good. So Survivor, get in the deck. Pick 9. I went ahead for the Nectar Pot. I debated about the Snarecaster versus Nectar Pot and decided to go with the Nectar Pot just because of the landfall payoffs. Again, now at this point, if I'm black-green, landfall with some kicker, Dreadworm is kind of the only pick. At this point, pick 11. I'm trying to remember why I did this. Well, yeah, I know why I did this. So Hunger would be the right stay on color pick, but I was assuming I was going to be doing some splashing anyway. I already had 1 Hunger, and I don't really want to run any of them typically. I did feel light on removal, so I went ahead and grabbed the Barrage in case I was going to be splashing red with all my fixing for the Shatterskull smashing, and I might end up running the Barrage. Pick 12 now, I was very happy to see this Constrictor because I've got multiple +1 payoffs. The Shade gets +1/+1 counters. Not the Sproutling, where is it? There it is, the Vine Gecko. The Vine Gecko gets +1/+1 counters, and with this Fastwood Surge plus Constrictor can be game. And spoiler alert, it was. I went 3-3 with this deck, as I said, and 2 of the games were ended by a kicked Fastwood Surge, and 1, if not both of them, I had the Constrictor out as well, which was what absolutely made it lethal. So, happy to pick up the Constrictor. At this point, I didn't want the healer. I went ahead and picked the spoils, even though I was probably definitely not splashing it, but it was interesting to see it there. And hey, I got a wildfire anyway. So pack 3, pick 1. I stared at this mythic just purely from a gem's point of view and passed on it. I did consider the Horn Beetle because I was getting this +1/+1 sub-theme as well. But with the plan being that I'm still definitely black-green, I'm maybe splashing red is where I'm thinking. I definitely wanted this Deadly Alliance. So pack 3, pick 2, I took the Silly Mythic. There was a small part of me thinking I might actually run it because of the ramp I was doing, especially if I got more ramp. Like I had the Surge, I had 2 Reclaims, I had the Florahedron. This thing needs a lot of mana, but I was sort of looking to do that. Also, I already had 4 of, and so it was going to be a lot of gems, which seemed to pick. And more importantly, I didn't feel like I was missing that much for my black-green deck. The only black card at all is the Blight Priest, which is not something this deck wants. A Baloth would have been fine, and Might of Murasa would have been fine, but I know I'll probably end up with one of these anyway. The adult pick was probably Baloth. But Engine felt like it had some amazing upside, plus I was just making the gems pick. And as a spoiler, I did not, in fact, run the Engine because I didn't feel like I had enough ramp in the end. All right, pick 3. I do note there was a Moss Skeleton here. I didn't pick it because I looked. There's a Moss Skeleton, there's a Shadow Cat, there's a Thwart the Grave, all of which are really good. There's a Vanquish. But I thought the Skeleton might wheel because someone else would have to be in black-green really to want it. And I would be fine if the Skeleton, Shadowclad, or Thwart, if any of those came back. I went ahead and took the Gnarlid Colony because I know those aren't going to wheel. Yeah, I just tried to double-click on it like I was live picking it. All right, this pack, again, I am green-black in my mind. Given the options, Blightblade seemed a good choice. Pick 5, there's the Bala Ged Recovery. It doesn't, I don't think anything else matches up to it at all. Pick 6, there is the Fortification that could be good, but there was a Rabid Bite and I just picked up the Death Toucher. Rabid Bite easily. Pick 7, there's a Might, there's a Reclaim. I went ahead and got the other Reclaim, so I'm like, that's going to be 3 Reclaims. I was really thinking I might actually run the Lithoform engine at this point. Pick 8, things were definitely drying up. I went ahead and just took the Skitter Sneak for another creature. Pick 9, there was nothing green-black I would want at all. So I decided to take the Kicker spell because there was a chance I was still doing 3 or 4 color nonsense with all the fixing options that I had. So I decided, let's go ahead and grab that field research. It's another Kicker payoff. Pick 10, only green card, and it's a Kicker payoff. Again, very late Core Celebrant. So pick 11, this is that one where I hoped something would come back. I was happy to see both Shadowcat and Vanquish come back. I already had 2 Deadly Alliances and a Rabid Bite, so I took that Shadowcat easily, plus its +1/+1 counter synergies. Oblivion's Hunger that I didn't plan on running, another Skitter Sneak, and then a Snarecaster at the end. And this deck, like I said, I ended up going 3-3 with. The deck I ended up building was Sultai Kicker, +1/+1 counter, landfall. I really played around with 3 different decks, basically. Kind of 4. I did think about trying to do the splash everything, but it didn't feel like I had enough. I mean, I had 3 Reclaim, I had the Surge, like I definitely had a lot of fixing, but I didn't feel like my payoffs were worth doing crazy stuff. Had I got the Omnath, that would have changed. The adult deck here, as it were, would be to just be green-black. My just green-black version, when I had put it together, included, I believe, an extra one of these Skitter Sneaks and a Snarecaster in lieu of these 2 blue spells that you see. I also played around with the idea of splashing red, because in red I did have the Smashing, and I had the Sizzling Barrage if I really felt the need for it, which I didn't. There was also the Geopede if I was really thinking landfall. But what I really played around with was the thought of throwing the Smashing and 2 red sources in, just to be able to do a bunch of ramping with all of the Reclaims and Surges, never missing a land drop, and then just doing a huge Smashing. But it just didn't feel good, and what felt right in the end was that I had a lot of really good Kicker payoffs with the Gecko and the Sproutling. And it felt that splashing the field research and the End of the Royal was definitely more powerful than a random Snarecaster and Skitter Sneak. And with the 3 Reclaim the Wastes, I only ran 2 of them, and the Surge, it didn't feel like splashing it was tough. I just ran 2 islands, because even though I need 2 blue, both Reclaim the Wastes and Vastwood Surge can get both blue at once. The deck felt fine. I went 3-3. Again, I can't really think of anything with how the draft went as I go through it that feels like I should have kind of ended up in anything different. It does feel like I was missing some sort of bomby top end with this, and that's definitely the times I lost. Like my bomb was Vastwood Surge. 2 of the games I won were a kicked Vastwood Surge. I forget the other one, how I won it. But the ones I lost were all that just, they had a bomb and I ran out of answers, or multiple bombs, or just big stuff. There was a lot of boards getting clogged with this deck. I'd have stuff, they'd have stuff. There'd be no attacks happening because neither of us had good attacks. and I definitely got milled out once just because of that kind of thing. I got very close to getting milled a number of times because I was drawing so many cards myself as well. So in any case, those are my three most recent drafts I did. I do look forward to getting some feedback on this from friends and public. Please feel free to leave comments down in YouTube below, and I do actually plan on doing some streaming on in the future, and I will post more about that as we get there. So thanks so much, and thanks for listening through all this.